Imagine landing at Caracas International Airport in the mid-1970s. Outside, Concorde jet, a supersonic plane reserved for royalty, CEOs, and heads of state, is waiting on the runway. It could fly to Paris in under 6 hours. This was Venezuela. Wealthy, confident, untouchable. People even called it Saudi Venezuela. The country had the highest per capita income in Latin America. Its currency, the bolívar, was so trusted that neighboring countries held it as a reserve. Gasoline was cheaper than tap water. Middle-class families lived in apartments with modern elevators, while children attended sprawling schools built for the future. People drank Scotch whiskey like water, and elegant nightclubs buzzed with music from Europe and New York. Skyscrapers rose across Caracas. 8-lane highways cut through the city. Oil money flooded government accounts faster than anyone could track. Public hospitals and universities seemed limitless. It felt like a country that had solved economics. And why not? Venezuela had the world's largest proven oil reserves. Money flowed endlessly. Budgets were optional. Debt didn't matter. Growth felt permanent. But then everything changed. Fast forward to today, the economy has shrunk by nearly 80%. Over 7 million people, almost a quarter of the population, have fled. The bolivar has been redenominated 3 times, wiping out 14 zeros. Concords and luxury cars sit abandoned. Schools and hospitals crumble. Families that once thrived now line up for food. The West often dismisses it as socialism gone wrong. But Venezuela's collapse wasn't just political. It wasn't about ideology. It was about mechanical economic failures. Failures that can now happen anywhere. And the lesson: wealth today doesn't guarantee stability tomorrow. Venezuela didn't collapse in a single day. No revolution, no election, no dramatic coup caused it. The real culprit was something invisible at first: fiscal dominance. In a healthy economy, governments spend money and central banks control money. If deficits grow too large, borrowing becomes painful. Governments are forced to either cut spending or risk bankruptcy. This balance keeps inflation in check. Fiscal dominance happens when that balance breaks. The government becomes addicted to spending and pressures the central bank to finance the deficit. Money printing replaces discipline. Inflation is ignored. Short-term comfort replaces long-term reality. In Venezuela, this started during the oil boom years. Public payrolls exploded, subsidies multiplied. Promises grew faster than the economy. Imagine a family that suddenly sees their salary rise because the government is printing money. At first, it feels like a miracle. You buy more goods, you feel richer. But behind the scenes, the value of money is disappearing. Every month, prices rise faster than your pay. Real wealth is quietly vanishing. Then oil prices crashed in 2014. Revenue dried up, spending didn't. Deficits hit 15% of GDP. Instead of cutting, programs are raising taxes, a painful but necessary step. The government had the central bank print the difference. At first, life seemed normal. Salaries arrived. Pensions were paid. People didn't notice the damage immediately, but the clock was ticking. By the time the public realized what was happening, escape was almost impossible. Wealth evaporated silently, invisibly. And today, the same forces are creeping into countries once thought untouchable. The United States runs peacetime deficits previously reserved for wars. Debt grows by trillions, and interest payments now exceed military spending. History has a mathematical warning. Every imbalance has a tipping point. As inflation spiraled, the government needed someone to blame. Money wasn't officially worthless. Instead, they blamed businesses, farmers, and speculators. The solution: price controls. Soldiers entered stores. Shelves were labeled with official prices. Families lined up for bread, milk, and meat. At first, it felt fair, almost like a miracle. People cheered. Children tugged their parents along, excited that basic goods were free or cheap. But the system was broken from the start. If selling a good costs more than the allowed price, businesses stopped producing. Farms closed, factories shut down, imports vanished. Within months, store shelves were empty, not because of hoarding, but because production itself had died. Imagine a small bakery. It can't afford flour at the government-mandated price. The ovens stop. No bread comes out. Families scramble to find even a single loaf. Meanwhile, soldiers enforce fair prices, unaware that their intervention is causing the shortage. The government doubled down, calling shortages an economic war. Citizens waited in long lines for state-issued food boxes, while black markets thrived in the shadows, selling the same goods at 10, 20, even 50 times the official price. A simple loaf of bread became a gamble. A chicken cost more on the black market than a worker's weekly wage. People adapted, but survival became a daily struggle. Breaking the thermometer didn't cure the fever, it made it worse. And the lesson was clear. Controlling prices doesn't control reality, it destroys it. This stage marked the start of Venezuela's real social collapse. Hope was replaced by desperation, and the rules of survival shifted underground. Next came strict currency controls. Citizens could no longer freely exchange bolivars for dollars. An official exchange rate was set, completely detached from reality. This created instant profits for political insiders. They could buy dollars cheaply from the state, then sell them on the black market for huge gains. No production, no labor, just access. Meanwhile, real businesses were strangled. A car manufacturer couldn't import engines, a bakery couldn't buy wheat, a small electronics factory couldn't get basic components. Production ground to a halt. Factories closed, employees were laid off. Families lost their livelihoods, even foreign investors stopped coming. Why invest dollars in a country where the government forces conversion at fake prices? Why risk months of work when money could vanish overnight? Every sector felt the effect. Hospitals struggled to buy medicines. Schools ran out of supplies. Grocery stores could not restock. The domino effect was unstoppable. Venezuela didn't just become poor, it became non-functional. Citizens adapted by relying on black markets, personal networks, and scarce cash. But every day, life became a struggle. And yet the government presented the policy as a victory. Headlines praised protection of national wealth, while families scrambled for survival. At this point, the system stopped serving prosperity. It began serving control. Venezuela didn't just collapse, it transformed. Luxury districts now operate in US dollars, insulated from disaster. Fancy restaurants cater to those who can pay, while middle-class neighborhoods face scarcity daily. Engineers, doctors, teachers, the backbone of society, vanished. Hyperinflation didn't destroy the rich or the extremely poor. It targeted savers, professionals, and those who trusted the system. Families who once owned homes found themselves unable to buy groceries. Businesses that once thrived closed. Life became a series of daily calculations. What could I buy today, and would it last until tomorrow? And once wealth was gone, the government introduced digital IDs and programmable money. Access to food, fuel, and bonuses was no longer automatic, it depended on compliance. Money became a tool of control, not a tool of prosperity. Citizens who once trusted the system were now monitored, rationed, and forced to follow the state's rules to survive. Freedom was quietly eroded, one economic decision at a time. This is the final stage of fiscal dominance, closing the exits. And here's the chilling part. Venezuela is not an isolated experiment. Same pattern, the addiction to spending. Currency manipulation, price controls, and control over citizens can appear anywhere. Countries that once seemed untouchable are now flirting with the same collapse, often without anyone noticing until it's too late. The ultimate lesson is clear. Prosperity can vanish quietly, but control remains. So when you hear governments spending trillions, printing money, or intervening in markets, remember Venezuela. History doesn't always repeat itself openly, it whispers warnings, and those who ignore them often pay the highest price.